All right, so I wanted to send you a little bit of help for question 11 on today's homework. So question 11 says, find the perimeter and area of each figure below. So each class, I tried to at least get through area and perimeter of this. I want to give you a little more help. You're going to see this all year long, so now's a good time to kind of see the ins and outs. So first of all, we got to find perimeter. So reminder, and this is to parents and students. So when I find the perimeter, I need to find the distance around the outside of the object. So this stuff right here is the perimeter. That is the distance around the object. So when I find the perimeter, I'm going to do 6 plus 5 plus 7.5. So on my paper, this is my showing my work, I would write down 6 plus 5 plus 7.5. All right, and then I would add these up. 6 plus 5 is 11. And then 11 plus 7.5. Well, let's see. 11 and 7 is 18. And then don't forget about your 0.5. So the perimeter of this is 18.5. That's the distance around the outside. If I were to take a ruler and measure from here and then this length, I would get 18.5 inches. All right, so that's perimeter. One of the biggest mistakes people make, though, when they're doing perimeter is they try to add 4 to this. This has nothing to do with the perimeter because it's inside. We only add up the outside pieces for perimeter. All right. The next thing that we need to do with this is we now need to find the area of this. So on your homework today, you were given a piece of paper, and I sent in the emails that has this on it, this math notes, and it has perimeter and area. And on this, it gives you the area for different types of shapes. So here, if I want to find the area of a rectangle, it's base times height. If I want to find the area of a parallelogram, it's base times height. If I want to find the area of a triangle, its area equals 1/2 base times height. And if I want to find the area of a trapezoid, it's A equals 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times height. So you'll need that. So my first shape I have here is a triangle. So I go to my triangle and I find area of a triangle. It's this. Area equals 1/2 base times height. So the first thing I always do is I write down my formula. So I'm going to write this down on my notebook paper. Area equals 1/2 base times height. So on my notebook paper, A equals 1/2 base times height. All right. So step 2 is substitution. So now I need to substitute in some numbers for my base and height. And this is where 7th graders get stuck sometimes because they're like, I don't know which of these are base and height. So here's your clue. This little box right here that tells us that this is a 90-degree angle. This is always where the base and height meet. So anytime we have a 90-degree angle, which we do right here, that's what the symbol means, that means that the two lines that form the 90-degree angles, those are my base and heights. So that tells me that 4 and 7.5 are my base and heights. All right, so always look for this right angle symbol. That will help you decide where your base and height is. It's the lines that make up that 90 degrees. Those are my base and height. So back to my formula. Area equals 1/2 base times height. Area equal 1/2 times base. Well, base is usually the bottom of the two, so I'm going to use 7.5. So 1/2 times 7.5 times the height, which is 4. So now I take 1/2 times 7.5 times 4. Not allowed to use a calculator. So what I would do is I would change this into a decimal. So area equals 0.5 times 7.5 times 4. And then you multiply those three numbers together. Now, on your homework today, on the opposite side of your homework, I gave you all the answers in mixed up order. So when you're done, if you don't get the answer you find on the other side, then you know that you multiplied wrong somewhere, or maybe you didn't put in these right numbers. So make sure I should see this multiplication on your paper. If I was multiplying this myself, here's what I would do. I would do this 1/2 times 4 first, because 1/2 times 4 is just 2. Then I multiply that 2 by the 7.5. So that will be part A. For part B, we need to do the same thing. We're going to find perimeter and area. So the first thing is for perimeter, perimeter is that distance around the outside of an object. So I'm going to add up those four numbers right there. That's my perimeter. Now for area. So the first thing that you need to do for area is you got to figure out what type of shape this is. So when I go back to my other formula sheet and I look for this shape, I'm going to notice that this shape looks a lot like this shape. So this is called a trapezoid. So this is the formula I'm going to use. So when I'm finding the area of this trapezoid, the first thing I ever write down is the formula. So I'm going to write this down on my notebook paper. That's my first thing. So area equals, and that formula from that other sheet is 1/2, and then in parentheses, base 1 plus base 2, unparentheses, and then the height. So the first thing I ever do is I just write down my formula. Now, notice we have base and heights again. So let's go back to our idea from this one. Remember this right angle? So anywhere there's a right angle, there's a base and height. So notice we have a right angle here. So that tells me that this and this are a base and height. But notice how we need two bases this time. Well, if you look right here, this is another right angle. So that means that this and this are another base and height. So this is my height for the picture. This and this is my base. Also, you could do this. On a trapezoid, the bases are always the two sides that are parallel to each other. So my bases would be 23 and 12. They're always parallel to each other. And then my height in this one is going to be the 12. Notice how this height makes a right angle with both of these bases. Okay? Oops, and I erased my formula. So once again, area equals 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times height. And sorry, I don't have more room, but you get the idea. So now my substitution step, area. So I rewrite everything, except this time I'm going to put numbers in for my letters. So I have two bases. And earlier we talked about that this is a base and this is a base. They're the two parallel sides. And they are 12 and 23. So in my parentheses, I do 12 plus 23. That goes in parentheses. Those are my two bases. All right. Notice how they both form right angles with my height. The height in this one was this. This is how high or how tall it is. And it was 12. So it goes 12. Now we got to figure out and do a little bit of math here. So in math, we know we always do what's in parentheses first. So here's my parentheses. We have to do this work inside of here first. So I do 12 plus 23, and that gives me 35. So notice how I write down 35, and then I just rewrite everything else in this problem. I just bring it right down the paper that I haven't used. So this parentheses is my 35. I still have to multiply 1/2 because numbers next to parentheses mean to multiply. And I still have to multiply this by 12. So I just dropped everything straight down the paper other than I did this parentheses. All right. So now I still got a little bit of math here. I have 1/2 times 35 times 12. I'm going to actually do this. I'm going to do my 1/2 times 12 first. And 1/2 of 12 is 6. I'm going to come up here so you can see. So 1/2 of 12 is 6. And now I can multiply that by the 35. If you want to, you can change 1/2 into a decimal of 0.5. And if you want to do it this way, that's fine. Do 35 times 0.5. Sorry, that's a decimal. It's not a subtraction symbol. 5 times 5 is 25. Carry the 2. 15 plus 2 is 17. I have one decimal place. So this will be 17.5. And then you can multiply that by 12. Okay. So it depends on how you want to work this out. When you are done with your answer, though, look on the other side of your paper to make sure that's the number you should have gotten. If not, then you know you messed up somewhere. Go back and see if you can figure out where you messed up. If you can't figure it out, then we'll talk about tomorrow in class. Okay? All right. So real quick, I just want to start you out on part C. So part C, we have this. So once again, if you're not sure what this object is, see what this looks like on your formula page. So when I look at it, boy, this looks a lot like this shape. It's just turned sideways. So this must be called a parallelogram. And it is, because a parallelogram is a four-sided object that has two sets of parallel sides. So notice how these sides are parallel, and these opposite sides are parallel. So that makes this a parallelogram. So I know that I'm dealing with a parallelogram. So step one, I got to find the perimeter. So that's the distance around the outside of this object. So you've got to add up this side plus this side plus this side plus this side. All right, so that work needs to get done on your paper. When you get an answer, check it on your answer sheet to make sure you're right. Now to find the formula for this. Well, since I found out that this is a parallelogram, my formula for parallelogram is area equals base times height. So step one, I always write down my formula. Area equals base times height. Now, step two, substitution. So A equals, now, back to earlier. How do we always know base and height? That right angle right there. That forms a 90-degree angle. So I know that this line and this line are my base and heights. So this and this form a right angle. So I know that these are my base and heights. I should go a little bit further. So my base and heights are 3 and 7. My height is 3. My base is 7. So 3 times 7. And that clue, once again, was at 90-degree angle. So the area of this, 3 times 7, is 21. So hopefully that helps you with question 11. We're going to see area and perimeter all year in our homework. So I kind of want to give you a heads up. I didn't get much time in class as I would have liked to have gone over these with you. We got through this one, but I just kind of want to touch base with the rest of them. So this is the important stuff that I have to see on your notebook paper is this work. To write down the formula, the substitution, and then if you got some multiplication or something, I should see that off to the side on your paper. All right, well, hopefully this helps.